Hello. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for another episode of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And this is season. Hold on. You already know I got you. Hold on. Oh, so much going on right now, guys. I'm normally on top of it, but I don't want to start the video over again. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it together, guys. I promise you I will. Hold on. Ciao, season 15. And this is episode 9. I believe it's 9. Beverly Hills has the Watch What Happens Live thing going on, so I'm not, because I did the back-to-back, I'm pretty sure it's 9. But this is called Vacation and Manifestation. And I stand corrected. This season is slow burn. It's a slow burn. Because today's episode was actually really, it was all right. Enough where I might actually watch the episode on time next week. But probably not. I'll be honest with you. Also, happy President's Day. I'll be honest. I've been busier than I've ever been when it comes to my social life and whatnot. So these reviews are going to be a little bit more harder for me to do. But fortunately, at this point, I only have 2 shows I'm reviewing versus 3. So it should be easier on paper, but I'm also busier than I was before. So we'll see. But without further ado, I don't want to waste your time. Let's get into the episode. So we start off where in the episode, they actually do a flashback montage of Dorit and Kyle's friendship. And they kind of reflect on how their friendship used to be very good, very valuable. And now they're in the place they're in today. And I'll be honest with you, the more this season is taking place, I think what's tricky with me when it comes to the Kyle and Dorit of it all, I'm not on either of these women's side. Because both of them are right and wrong at the same time. Dorit gave me kind of the ick this episode. And Kyle in this episode made some points. We'll get into that when we get into it. But that's kind of one of the things I've noticed as a takeaway when it comes to the Kyle and Dorit of it all. Also, side note, for those who didn't know, because this is probably throwing people off, you're probably like, oh my gosh, when did this nose pierce happen? I've had this nose pierce for like 20 years. I was out and about today because in Chicago, it was in the 60s, so your girl was outside. And when I'm outside, I have the accessories on. I already took my earrings off because I'm winding down now, and I'm like, okay, I can do the review, but I haven't taken my nose ring out yet, so that's what's going on here, or the stud, if you will. But anyway, so they do the flashback, and then we go back to real time with this episode, and the first actual official scene, we actually start with Rachel Zoe, and Rachel's working with her team because she wants to do a weekend's trip to the Hamptons. And initially, I thought she was inviting all the girlies, but it turns out she's only inviting Dorit and Kyle, because she wants them back to be at a good place. And so she's trying to basically be the peacekeeper, the peacemaker for this. And so we see in this scene, she FaceTimes Dorit first. Dorit's just excited to get out and be out and about. So she says yes resoundingly without knowing the conditions. And the condition is Kyle's coming with. And we already saw the last episode, Kyle and Dorit are not in a good place. And then, so she's like, I don't care. I'm going to make it fun. And at this moment, I'm like, okay, see, this is the kind of attitude I like with Dorit. And then we go from that to Kyle. And Kyle gives a little bit more of the realistic answer of she's excited at first, but cautiously excited about going on this trip because she already knows there has to be a catch. And there was. And the catch is Dorit's going to be there too. And with Kyle, she's a little bit more hesitant because her and Dorit are not in a good place. But she still is willing to go and make the best out of it. And also, too, earlier on, before Rachel had the FaceTime conversations with both of them, she stated that Dorit's ready to have a hot girl summer, and Kyle's not. Kyle is very much like, I'm a homebody these days. I turned the corner. I'm cool with that. And I'll be honest with you, with Kyle, what is frustrating with Kyle is we don't understand how she got to her point. She went from the Morgan of it all, or she who shall not be named, I guess, to all of a sudden now she's turned the corner and now she wants to be a homebody. But with Kyle, we never get how she got there. We just get the conclusion, and so we're just kind of like always stuck on, how did you get here? And that's something with Kyle that I've always found very frustrating, especially in the latest years in this show. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at with Kyle, Dorit, and Rachel. We find out this episode they're going to the Hamptons. And we also get a backstory with Rachel about how the Hamptons mean so much to her. She's a New Yorker. And so this is like this is where she goes to recenter herself, basically, and get herself right. And because she is from New York, I don't know if she's from the Hamptons area. I think she's from like New York City, but like the Hamptons, that's a day trip thing that people do in New York. I feel like that's like kind of a thing. Similar to like if you're in Chicago, you do Wisconsin sometimes, you do Michigan, you do the things that are close by and you kind of make it a weekend thing. So anyway, that's kind of what they're doing here. And I guess that's that on that. Next. So then the next scene, we actually find out later on in this episode that there's going to be dual events going on. We have Amanda, and she's preparing to have a dinner party with the rest of the women. We initially didn't realize that was going to be at the same time. I probably should figure that out, because why are they featuring this if it's going to be at the same time? But yes, that is what's happening. And so she's basically getting prepared for that. And with Amanda, my verdict is still out when it comes to how I feel about Amanda, because I love that Amanda is shaking the table and getting under these girls' skin. But at the same time, if it wasn't for the fact that some of these women on the show are not likable, I wouldn't like Amanda either. There's just something about Amanda that I don't really vibe with either. And I don't think it's a jealousy thing. I just think there's just something kind of like disingenuous about her. But I could say that when it comes to a lot of the women on the show. So it's not just an Amanda thing. So, but it's just she's a new kid on the block and they're focusing all their things on her. So I think to a certain degree by default it's making her more likable. But for me, I'm still not there yet, because maybe this is my own bias-y watching the show. Amanda gives me liberal Karen vibes. And I don't really vibe with that type ever. So she rubs me the wrong way when it comes to that. I don't really know her personally, but like what I see on her screen and the deflection and all that, I find it extremely annoying. And she reminds me of what I would not vibe with in real life. I'll be honest with you. So that's kind of part of my issue with Amanda. But we'll talk more about it, because I think that's part of what a lot of the other women have issues with her on. But because a lot of the other women are also not likable, a lot of people are siding with Amanda. Anyway, so we see that next. So then next, the scene that made me absolutely cringe is that Dorit meets Mo. And they continue to start talking about PK, and Dorit is leading where she wants Mo to be the mediator. But number one, she's not letting this man talk. And number two, she doesn't want him to be mediator. She wants Mo to be on her side. And that is later on, that's what Kyle says, that, Dorit wants yes men. And I actually agree with it after seeing this, because I was like, what was the purpose of meeting Mo? Why would you think Mo would be on your side of this? Also, too, in this scene, it kind of, in a weird way, it kind of exposed Dorit where she's not telling us the whole truth. But I feel like neither of them are telling us the whole truth. But I guess what, for me, that gives me the ick is that, number one, Dorit thought this was a good idea. And number two, you're letting Kyle and Mo speak for PK. So you're letting his representative basically be on the show, even though I don't know, it's just something not right about it. So I just pretty much mentioned this is messy. And then it kind of got extra messy when out of nowhere, to me, Dorit brought up PK's drinking. And really that had nothing to do with them trying to make arrangements to see the children in custody. Because originally we led with Dorit is trying to have an agreement with PK for custody and really just a conversation in general. But the way this went back and forth it did not help Dorit's situation at all. And I'm still just trying to scratch my head. Why would you bring these outsiders into your relationship? I understand that you're like, okay, Mo and PK hang out, but like, I don't know, for me, and maybe this is a thing where this happens when you're divorced couples. I would never bring anyone outside of my relationship in on that. I don't care how close of friends they are, because the way I know my partner will never be how anyone else knows my partner. So to me, this whole entire scene kind of gave me the ick. Let me know if y'all felt that way, but I felt that way. Anyway, moving on. So then next we have Sutton. And Sutton FaceTimes her daughter Porter. And she kind of opens up a little bit more about this annulment situation, her name turning from Strack to Brown. And we kind of get a little bit more deeper into why this is bothering Sutton the way it is. It has a lot to do with the tradition of she never thought she would have a different last name than her children. And honestly, just because the Catholic Church did it doesn't mean you have to do it. So I guess that's kind of why, that's where I'm a little stuck on. Like, you could still keep the last name legally. The Catholic Church is not above legal. But I guess for me, and this is maybe, again, in the comments, if you guys are mothers and, you know, let me know in the comments if this is a thing. Like, because I'm not a mom, I can't relate. That's just, I feel like that's part of where my disconnect is, because I'm not a mom, I can't relate. And I get last names mean something, but for me, my maiden name means more to me than a married name. If anything, I'm kind of more on the side of whenever I do decide to get married or whatever, hopefully when the opportunity presents itself, I'm not sure if I want to change my last name. Like, I love my last name. If anything, I might hyphen it, but I don't think I'll ever want to really get rid of my last name. I don't know. But that's just me. So she kind of goes into it and she gets really emotional, and her daughter's just kind of like, whatever. But Sun adds a little bit more color to hers. It's not just about the last name. It has to do with her. She's at a crossroads of her life. She's in her 50s, and she just says this is what a lot of women deal with. And I do agree with her with that. When you're at a crossroads, you're becoming empty nester. Your hormones are all over the place because the perimenopause or menopause, depending on where you're at on the spectrum of things, is occurring. So that part, when she started breaking that down, I understood that. Because, I mean, I'm not officially perimenopause, but I'm already getting some of the symptoms. And I don't think I'm going to really be officially diagnosed until it's so freaking obvious. Because, and this is something that's kind of been my gripe, and I don't know if it's like this around the rest of the world, but at least the United States and these Americas, unless you're getting hormonal like blood work done regularly, that level of if your hormones are normal or not varies from women to women. And a lot of times that's not tracked until things start becoming abnormal. So you don't really know what your normal is for you to really know individually when you're actually abnormal. So therefore, until you have multiple symptoms and it's like pretty much obvious that you're in perimenopause, you don't get diagnosed with it. Even though, in my example, I'm about to be transparent here, I'm already getting the hot flashes here and there. I get the personal summers. Actually, not as much because I started taking some hormonal stuff to kind of fix some of that stuff. Natural alternatives. But prior to me doing that, My sleep was horrible. I get the itch. I get the itchy ear. Only thing that really hasn't happened yet is my cycle is still normal. It's lighter, but it's normal. Now I just shared a lot of information there, but like I guess that was a thing of everything that Sun said I related to. The other things I was kind of like, because she said in your 50s this is when it happens. I'm like, I think in your 40s the changes start really happening. You know, as far as like you trying to figure out who you are today. And that was the other thing she mentioned. And I think that has more or less to do with her having children and her identifying as a mother and all those things and not having her own identity. And I think if there's someone that doesn't have children, that's not something you ever face because, I mean, I'm one of those people. I've never had children, so I've always focused on myself. So I've always known the work of figuring out who I am. I've done that over and over again in multiple decades. And so I know who I am as a person in this decade, you know? So that struggle of not knowing who you are, I'm not there, so I don't really 100% get it. But I did like this scene for that reason. Even though I don't really care for Sutton, I did enjoy that. Moving on though. So then next we had this mini montage of Kyle, Rachel, and Dorit getting ready for their trip. And then, it's a little bit of a detailed montage. This is actually really the only montage we had this episode. And then from there, then we see the ladies are kind of waiting. I think they arrive in New York, and they're waiting for their ride and stuff. And then we see how awkward it is for Kyle and Dorit. Dorit is kind of just like, whatever, I'm going to have me a time. I don't really care. But Kyle is the one who's like, oh, this is awkward, because you know that's how Kyle is. But then they off decide to go ahead and get ready, and they go in the car and they go on the trip to the Hamptons. So that's what we see here. On the other side, we see Amanda. She's getting ready for the rest of the ladies for her event. And it's a manifestation moment event. That's what she's calling it. And these shady producers, I don't know what Amanda did to them, but do the producers like Amanda? It's given they don't. Because later on in this episode, they kind of ping the fact that she says moment a lot. And I will say this, I guess this is the other thing that kind of makes me think, about Amanda is, and maybe it's just how the producers were editing it, but to me, a lot of things she does is very millennial coded, but it's like the annoying things. For example, constantly using the word moment. I was like, why do they do that? But she says it a lot. And it's just giving her saying moment that she's always looking for a moment, which again is very disingenuous. So again, there's just things with her that I'm like, I don't really care for that. And so she talks to her husband as she's getting ready. Not husband, but soon to be husband, her fiance. And he's like, you know, if worse comes to worse, she can always drink. But we also find out within this scene that she ended up not inviting Dorit. But the reason why she ended up not inviting Dorit is she found out she didn't really have to, because this is when she found out that Rachel and Kyle and Dorit were going to be gone, so it made it easy for her. And then on the other side, we see that Dorit, Kyle, and Rachel, they're in the car still on the way to Hamptons, and this is when Dorit mentions, yeah, I wasn't even invited to this thing. And the other women are like Rachel, Zoe, Kyle, and Dorit, they're okay with not being there. Dorit's like, okay, whatever. And honestly, later on this episode, which really wasn't that much long from now, because I mean, this review is not take me very long, I agree with them. Rachel, Zoe, Dorit, and Kyle, that vibe and what they had going on was way cooler. I would have wanted been in that room instead. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on, because someone else said the same thing once they found out where they were at. Anyway. So then, also, we then see that Rachel, Kyle, and Dorit, they do end up, and side note, I normally want to say Rachel Zoe, but I'm tired today. I can't say the whole name. Also, Jeffrey Tilly was not in this episode, so that's the other thing. But anyway, so the rest of the ladies arrive at the Hampton house, and it's really, really nice. And we meet Rachel's friends from home, and then we also meet Rachel's sister, who basically have they have a similar aesthetic. And just with us getting to know and seeing Rachel's people, it was more my vibe. Easily moving more my vibe. I would be like, okay. And then we were talking, a lot of the things that they were talking about also was they kind of got into like the divorce club of it all. All the women there are separated. Not just the group, but like all of them. That's what they all have in common. And one thing that kind of stood out to me is that Kyle made it very known. I'm not divorced. I'm separated. And what that tells me is that Kyle, and I've been saying it, Kyle does not want to be separated anymore. She played outside. She realized it wasn't for her. She wants to get back to the way it was. AKA Mo cheating on her in peace. Because I feel like they had an agreement before. And I think she wants to go back to that. And I'm wondering in the rest of this episode, like rest of the season, will we see that play out? Or will we just find this out during the reunion? Because allegedly during the holidays, they have maybe rekindled some things. But yeah, anyway, so that's kind of what happens here. I just found it kind of odd that both Kyle and Dorit in their own way separate Kyle from the group when it comes to the rest of the women. Because Dorit's like, no, I'm ready to be done and be separated. And I think Dorit is clinging on to Rachel Zoe. She finds her so cool, so interesting. She basically is doing the same thing that she did last season with Bose. Now we're seeing it with Rachel Zoe. And with Kyle, she clearly doesn't want to be separated. And the thing is, I think it was originally her idea, but it's clear that she has regret and she wants to be back together, to the point where even like when Dorit was kind of venting about everything that's going on with PK, she doesn't believe anything Dorit is saying, but she also is making it known, I ain't saying this out loud. I'm just sick of going back and forth. I'm just going to keep it to myself. Because she's like, Mo said something else to me. And this is where I'm not going to hold you. I kind of agree with Kyle a little bit. I think Dorit is doing too much. Now, are you on the side of Dorit is presenting as if all these women are her friends, and so who, if she can't vent to her friends, who could she vent to? I agree with that. But once you brought Mo into the chat is when I was like kind of side-eyeing you. And you're not going, at this point now, you're not going to help with the you and Kyle situation at all, because we already know where Kyle lies and where her alliance lies. She still views Mo as her best friend. So she's going to take Mo's side. Whether you think that's being male-identified or not, because she's at a place where the rest of these women are not at, of not really wanting to be separated, her POV is going to be way different than everyone else's. And I feel like with Dorit at this point, you know that, so why are you trying to make fetch happen? That's kind of where I see it. I wouldn't continue to try to get different results if I already know who I'm dealing with. But that's just me. But anyway, moving on. So then on the other side, we see that Bose and Erica, they're on their way to Amanda's. And Erica is clearly really into this guy she's dating right now. I guess his name's John. I don't know if we're going to see him on the show or not, but like she's really kind of happy about that. And we're seeing Erica like in deep like. I wouldn't say she's in love. I don't know about all that. But like it's kind of interesting to see Erica in this new space. I will be honest with you. And maybe that's kind of why I'm like, this is becoming a slow burn. Because as much as I cannot stand Erica, especially with how she treated Garcelle at the very end, there's something about Erica that I find her entertaining to a certain degree when it comes to her vibes and mood. But in other ways, I find her very boring and not interesting. Erica's just a tough cookie to crack when it comes to understanding and even like liking her. Because as much as I don't want to like her, there's something about her that I still somewhat like. And I noticed that this episode particularly, maybe because now lately she's been playing this voice of reason role, and she's not as much been. I feel like last season her voice of reason was very Kyle adjacent. This time around, her voice of reason to me is giving voice of reason just in general, because at this point I'm starting to be a little bit more on the side of Kyle when it comes to a lot of things, particularly when it comes to Dorit PK of it all. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm sick of hearing about the Dorit and PK of it all a little bit too. But I understand why Dorit feels the way she feels, because she's in the middle of the divorce. So she's still like in the thick of it. And so when you're in the thick of it, the way you act is going to be different than if you're like outside of it. And so I get why everything is happening, if that makes sense. But anyway, so then as this is happening, then we go from them talking about John, the guy she's dating, to the Amanda of it all. And basically Bose and Erica are sighing Amanda. Bose never liked Amanda. We kind of have figured this out. Bose has been sighing Amanda from day one. Erica is starting to get to that point now herself. And I'm on the slow burn version of it, where I'm starting to kind of look at not Erica, but Amanda kind of like, just because of her lack of owning what she did. But I do think the women are putting a little bit sauce on it. We'll get into a little bit more. Anyway, so then from there, we flip back over to the women heading over to Amanda's house. Natalie arrives first, and can we talk? Okay. So far, I'm not finding Natalie interesting. I just find she's just kind of there, and she's kind of taking up space. I don't know. She's just kind of underwhelming. So far, she just kind of blends in with the background. And I feel like I forgot who it was, someone said that she matches the table setting and everything. I was like, yeah, I don't think they meant that for shade, but in my head, I was like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about her in general. She's just kind of just there so far. Let me know if you feel that way about Natalie. But anyway, Natalie arrives first. And then from there, then we see Sutton and Kathy. They arrive next. They're literally pretty much almost matching. And then this is where we get that montage of a moment thing. And then Erica and Bose arrive next. And these shady producers, along with Bose and Erica, pan over to this welcome mat that says Money Queen Things or something like that, Tings or something like that. And it's like, oh my gosh. Now I know what this is going to be about. Not to skip ahead, but let's skip ahead a little bit. This whole entire event was a walking advertisement for her business. And I get that's what you're supposed to do for Housewives, but I don't think it's supposed to come across as an infomercial, and for me, it kind of did. It gave slightly tacky. I don't know if y'all feel that way, but I felt that way a little bit, especially considering the type of Housewives show we're on, with it being Beverly Hills. You know, everything with Beverly Hills is a little bit more on the subtle side. You're not so brash and in your face when it comes to the things that you're advertising via your business and stuff. And also, too, I feel like a lot of these women don't necessarily have a business. It's more or less they might be like actresses, because we've had actresses in the past. And, you know, Erica, she's an entertainer. And then you have also these other women who are actual true housewives. And then a lot of the women on this particular franchise are socialites. So it is interesting to see Amanda with the rest of these women when it comes to that. Anyway. So then as they're sitting down and getting settled in, Bose asks, where's Dorit? Did you not invite Dorit? And then this is when we find out that Dorit, Rachel, and Kyle are not, they're in the Hamptons. And then Bose is like, oh, so you didn't even have to invite her. She was like, yeah, it was like the universe made the decision for me. Because you know how Amanda talks. She talks very foo-foo and stuff like that when it comes to that kind of thing. And so, so when Dorit was talking about how she was unbothered about not being invited, she's like, yeah, we could say that I manifested not being invited. I did cackle a little bit because I'm like, yeah. Because I'll be honest with you, I think the other thing with Amanda is I am kind of getting sick of this manifestation talk. And I'm someone who actually believes in that. I practice it my whole entire life, and most of the things that I've got, for the most part, where I've landed in life is because I manifested a lot of things. But I don't know. It's just, this is what's tricky for me. And I know this is like her business, but manifesting to me is a very spiritual thing. So when you start making spirituality into capitalism, it basically now becomes a religion to me. And maybe that's my own deep-rooted issues with that kind of thing. But I just don't, I don't really like it. So I think that's also part of why I just sigh Amanda when it comes to this whole entire manifestation of it all. With Bose, I think Bose feels away because I feel like Amanda and Bose kind of are in a similar field and do similar work. So I don't know. I don't really understand Bo's beef with Amanda, but she hasn't seen it from her from the jump. But I also am sighing Amanda, but I don't think it's for the same reasons necessarily. But anyway. And then Erica, I guess she didn't hear Bo say that Dorit's not there, so she asked where Dorit is also. And then she was like, once she found out they were in the Hamptons, she was like, oh. Erica was me if I would have been there. She's like, I want to be at the Hamptons. I don't want to be here with this. And because if you were to compare the vibes, the Hamptons will win easily. Because then we go on the other side and we see the dinner. And we see the people that she's bumping shoulders with. And it just shows Rachel Zoe as that girl. And we saw that we meet Donna Karen, which is a major, that's a big deal. And she just happens to run into her. Like, I was like, okay. And the comparison to the two parties is literally night and day. And honestly, like I said, I would want to be on the Hampton side of things as well. And then from there, we go back to the Amanda thing, and then we get into the Amanda and Sutton of it all. And Sutton doing what she does best, giving unsolicited advice. But I kind of agree with Sutton with her advice. So Sutton's like, you should have owned what you said about Dorit. I feel like this would not have gotten blown up as much if you would have just owned it and would have just moved on. And I agree, because really what Amanda said wasn't that serious. And if she would have just owned it, I think Dorit would not having a reason to continue to like pounce at her with this. But instead, she deflected. She was like, well, Kyle, she tried to say it wasn't her idea. It was Kyle's idea. And it was Kyle. Kyle did say that, but then Sutton took it a step further. It was like, well, you caused them to like get back in a bad place. I'm like, no, Sutton, no. And I agree with Amanda with this. It's like, if that's all it took, they were on shaky grounds. And we all knew that they were on shaky grounds. So like, let's be so for real when it comes to that. But I do agree with Sutton, what she's saying about Amanda could just own what she said what she said, and it would have been a non-factor. And Dorit would have had no reason to be mad at her. And if Dorit was mad at her, it would have been on Dorit and not on Amanda. But right now it's on Amanda because she is doing all this stuff. And then when she's still Sutton's trying to give her advice, she still tries to make it about, well, I found out like she's doing this a day of my kid's anniversary. And then right there, I'm side-eyeing her again. Because I'm just like, you keep weaponizing this. And that is Karen behavior. And honestly, Sutton corrected her immediately. She's like, I'm talking about the restaurant. I'm not talking about the other event. You had no reason to do all that. And Amanda's like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And Sudden, because she gets so round up and she does her Sudden thing, she's like, you can't be a wimp about this. She's like, don't call me a wimp at my home. And that, I don't know, that rubs me the wrong way. But at the same time, you ain't gonna call me a wimp at my home either. But I would have added some bass to that. Like, look, you ain't calling me that at my home. But again, I feel like she makes a mountain out of a molehill. Amanda does. And it's giving she's always looking for a moment. And so as Sudden is going back and forth, Bose is agreeing with her and chiming in. Erica's chiming in. Kathy's chiming in. None of these women are seeing it for Amanda. Amanda still feels misunderstood. And with Amanda, it's like, girl, you still have not presented with who you are. This manifestation party, instead of you talking about you, you made it about business. And that's the other thing that's throwing me off with Amanda, because none of these women still know who she is. But is it a safe place for her to do that? I don't know. But I think that's what's tricky. But, and also too, Erica even said in her confessional, if she thinks that Sun's doing a lot right now, she's in the wrong group. Because Sun was like, so far when it comes to the conflict between all the women and Amanda, it's been kid gloves. It's not, it can get so much more darker. And even with Dorit in her wasn't serious enough for it to be what it is. I'm going to need this Dorit and Amanda thing to get resolved, because at this point it's just it's very Karen coded. And so I just find it kind of annoying. But anyway, so then back on the other side, I think I kind of skipped ahead and kind of mentioned this about at the dinner, Dorit talks about what's going on with her and PK and the kid situation. I'll be honest with you, when Dorit is talking about the custody and the kid situation, I don't believe her all the way, because it doesn't make any sense. Because she said that they had to go emergency mediation the night before, and that makes no sense. And that was her excuse for being late, when Dorit is always late. And then we talk about a little bit about the Mo meeting. I think I talked about that earlier, where, you know, Kyle's taking Mo's side. And then from there, then Rachel tries to wrap it up in a bow and basically tries to show her support with Dorit, but she's projecting. She's talking a lot about her own situation. And this is where I'm kind of getting lost when it comes to this show. Too many divorced women on the show. I'm going to need some people that are getting married. So when it comes to the cast shakeup next year, I'm going to need some people who are actually happily married, or at least pretending to be happily married. And maybe strategically, maybe that's why Mo and Kyle are trying to get back together. Who knows? Because now I feel like a lot of the stuff on the show I don't believe all the way. But I will say this episode was interesting to me. So I am starting to see what people mean about this being potentially a slow burn. But it definitely is Amanda versus everybody. I think Kyle's kind of the only one that has Amanda's back right now. Because even Sun's nitpicking her. And yeah. And I will be annoyed with everyone trying to critique how I behave and stuff too. But I will say this. I feel like the women have a point. But anyway, that does conclude my review for this episode. Please let me know what you thought. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. Also, side note, I haven't watched the reunion part 1 for Potomac yet, but that'll be next. I'm probably going to try to watch it tonight and maybe do the review tomorrow. But I need to edit this video and get it out to you because I'm late when it comes to Beverly Hills. But hey, I'm not as late as I was last time because, again, I was down for the count last time. But anyway, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melon Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye!